Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and I'm going to do an Enshrouded beginner guide updated for 2025. This game is currently in early access on PC, but has plans to go to Xbox a little bit later in 2025, hopefully. Now, I want to go through what I've learned after playing 300 hours. This is one of my favorite games from the past year, 2024. Me and my son play. It's survival, it's crafting, it's RPG mechanics, it's exploration, and it just shocked the gaming world on how good it is, how deep it is, and it's only gotten better since it originally launched. So timestamps are below if you want to jump ahead. You shouldn't, by the way. Subscribe to the channel if you get something out of this, and hit the thumbs up and leave me a nasty comment. The algorithm loves them. All right, Enshrouded game basics. So before I go into specifics, what is the game? Like, what are you doing and why? Well, first off, it is currently in early access, meaning you can buy it right now and jump in. It's an open world survival game. So it blends a lot of survival mechanics, but also RPG mechanics as well. It launched in early January 2024 for just Windows, and it was a massive success. It really shocked a lot of people. For me, it's kind of like Minecraft with a lot of swords and RPG mechanics, which I really like. I'm not a big crafter in these games, so I don't sit around and tinker and build house. I just want to kill stuff, meathead, charge in, Rambo, get more powerful. You get it, right? But it has the Minecraft element that a lot of people love, tinkering, building houses, and exploring. So the game is set to release fully in 2025 for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Microsoft Windows, and it's currently out on Steam, and we'll see how that goes. So the early access has been set in phases, and they've tacked on a lot of content, shockingly so when this game finally launches, it's going to be massive. You're going to be able to explore different biomes, fancy word for just environments, right? So mountain was the most recent that was added. You got desert plains, swamp, just typically environments that you would experience around Earth if you did some traveling. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the premise in Enshrouded, and this is kind of interesting story mechanics, but also like, what do you do in the game? Because there's going to be times you start playing this game, you're like, well, what do I actually do and how do I make progression? So in Enshrouded, you are in the shoes of the Flameborn. This is the last of a dying race, and the world's teetering around destruction, right? We've heard this before. You're not going to have all these fancy voiceover, narrated, huge cutscene cinematic stories, so it's going to be text-based. This is kind of an indie game developer, but it's still an interesting story nonetheless. So what's going to happen is there's going to be this fog that has consumed something in its path, and you're going to fight to kind of reclaim the realm and kind of get rid of this fog called the Shroud. So you're going to explore, and you're going to come across this area where it's covered in Shroud, where you die if you essentially go in it for a certain amount of time. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're basically going out, exploring, gathering, getting new materials, going back to your base, and then building. Then you build and kind of upgrade your base in order to explore more of the Shrouded area, to cover new things, new materials, new monsters, rinse and repeat. So this game is also co-op, so you can play up to 16-player co-op. You can get your own server through different like websites and so on. I've done that before. It just allows people to jump into game when you're not online. So if you like the multiplayer thing, or it plays really great solo or duo, I absolutely love it. More specifics about the Shroud, right? It's this dense, hostile fog, and so it's going to have a large portion of the map. It's going to be kind of like this reddish tinge. That reddish is the deadly Shroud. You just can't jump in it or you're going to be dead in a few seconds. Other parts are going to be a lightish blue. That's going to have a timer that's going to let you explore a little bit. Then you have to come out of the Shroud and kind of reset the timer and go back in. When you very first start, it's very penalizing jumping in there, and it's kind of really exciting. You got to jump in the Shroud, you fight a couple monsters, got to come out in a couple minutes or even 30 seconds, and will you survive? In a survival game, it's punishing because when you die, you lose all your crafting materials that you just collected, and it's like, oh, biscuit, I just ripped it and I had all this stuff on me. So it does have a good penalty for dying. It makes you really want to jump out of the Shroud. So inside these Shrouds are going to be elixir wells, and that's kind of your primary objective. It gives you skill points, gives you a flood of experience, and what it is, it has a well going down where once you kill the enemy along with chopping down this essentially tree, it will give you a free safe zone within the Shroud. So you're kind of liberating the Shroud in these areas in a way to kind of reset the the timer and fast travel out. And so when you very first start, you're only going to be able to survive the shroud for 5 minutes. Now, this area is going to be massive and you're not really going to know where to go and kind of what to do, but you're really looking for those elixir wells at the very beginning. So just remember, blue shroud, okay to step in, and then the reddish tinge pink is deadly shroud. The timer goes much faster and it will kill you. So how do you spend more time in the shroud? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's your flame altar. Flame altar is essentially the main hub for your base, and you can upgrade it to different levels. Different levels are going to allow you to explore further and further areas, and I think the furthest one right now is 8, and that's going to allow you to explore basically everything on the map in early access that you're allowed to explore. Flame altars are also going to let you reset your skill points, and you can fast travel. So how the game works is you can build multiple flame altars. Typically you build one during the tutorial and intro and use that as your main base and hub to build and build out and so on, but that doesn't mean you have to. You also are going to use these for fast travel points. So you're going to get some stone, you're going to put one in your inventory, and then as you adventure out, you place one at the furthest you've got, go back to your main hub, and then store your stuff in chests, specifically crafting materials that are valuable, super valuable at the beginning because you have nothing. And then you go out again by fast traveling to that point, extinguishing that flame, and then going a little further and placing another one down. And that's the general premise of how to explore kind of safely, quickly, and effectively without back traveling and spending tons and tons of time going back to deposit your material. You can also upgrade the altar in 2 different ways, all right? So you can improve the flame altar, and what this is going to do is essentially have you get materials in a specific zone that are more rare than the previous materials. So at the very start of the game, you're going to be looking for like little basic things. Once you upgrade the material, then the deadly shroud will kind of dissipate and allow you to go a little bit further into different areas. Those different areas and different biomes have, you guessed it, more improved materials. So you're going to be looking for chopping down different trees, digging different ore and mining. You're going to be looking at different plants, different animals and enemies to kill. Specifically, there's usually a boss that you have to kill that has a head that you have to collect in order to upgrade the next flame altar. Sometimes these are related to the quest. So it's really fun and exciting. Once you upgrade that, then you're allowed to explore different areas, and everything is new, fresh, and exciting. So every little plant, every little material, every little ore you're getting, and boom, get a bunch of pop-ups. Hey, you can craft this new thing. Hey, you can make this new item. And that's kind of the gameplay loop so far, is going, exploring, coming back, depositing material, upgrading your flame altar, seeing what you have next, and getting that maxed out so you can explore and kill, well, I don't want to spoil it, but spoiler alert, a huge dragon at the end of the game. Okay, no more spoilers. The other way you can upgrade your altar is just kind of expand the area that allows you safe protection. So at the beginning, you're going to have a very small kind of radius where you can build, and you're going to want to expand that because eventually you're going to have like a farm. You can plant and build trees and plants, and this is really handy once you start going and finding rarer material. You can actually grow it at your home base. So when you get a massive sprawling area, yeah, you can collect cool stuff and put trophies on the wall and flex and brag to your friends, you know, if you have any. Not like I have a lot or anything, but if I did, I would, you know what I mean? Anyways, materials are why you're going to want to expand and grow this. It'll also protect you from the shroud. So sometimes I've cheesed the shroud by basically planting a flame altar right towards the edge. Once you upgrade your flame altar level, you'll be able to build more flame altars. So what you eventually do is have them as fast travel points to rare materials like the salt mine pretty early in the game is really, really handy. There's also these hollows, which are basically instance-based dungeons. You can farm material, get XP, and they're kind of challenging, so you can kind of place them there. And so you start expanding your area and your fast travel points. You'll also have towers. These are very similar to Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Breath of the Wild, some of my favorite games of all time. You have to do a puzzle to originally unlock them, and then they're at a high up point. Why that's useful is, just like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, you have a glider. That glider you can upgrade as well. So you get a basic noob one when you very first start out, and it sucks. You get it right, draining your stamina while you jump and glide. As you start progressing, you can increase your stamina, and you can increase your glider and your glide speed, allowing you to quickly traverse like everywhere quickly. So a combination of the flame altars along with finding these towers and doing the puzzles, which aren't too bad, unlocking them gives you a lot more fast travel potential. So when you very first start out, you're gonna be like, why am I just walking every single place? I hate this. It gets a lot better. You're also gonna to have like a grappling hook mechanic, and you'll be able to upgrade that as well. So that's kind of the first barrier as you start, is getting these stupid nails. And you're like, how do I get these nails? Spoiler alert, go north from the start of the area, destroy everything in the very beginning town, and kill some of the main bad guys and start harvesting them there. You can find them in barrels, chests, and just all around some of those bad guys in the very beginning area near the bridge. Okay, so you got the premise of the game, right? It is to basically explore, build, and kill stuff, get more powerful. And the general outline of what you're going to be doing is setting up a base, and then looking at the materials you need to upgrade your flame altar, going out and trying to find those, or going to my website, Deltiasgaming.com, where we have all the guides. And then once you get those and harvest them, typically you're going to have to kill a boss. Usually it's going to be in the open world somewhere in the new area zone or through a quest. You come back and you upgrade your flame altar. Then it's going to expand, and that deadly shroud is now going to be just normal shroud, allowing you to explore a little further. You're going to take a flame altar, then you're going to run a little bit further, plant it down, go explore the new area, come back to home base, bring your materials, see what you need, go kill a boss, rinse and repeat, all the way till you get to flame altar 8, which is going to take you a long time, a lot of fun, and maybe a little bit of frustration. Okay, now let's talk about questing. So this isn't going to be like the most robust RPG ever, but it's expanded a lot since it originally launched. So there's a lot to do, and you can be overwhelmed when you very first start out versus when it very first came out in January and there wasn't much to do. So you're going to have a series of quests. Don't expect huge cinematics or tons of voiceover, right? That's just not going to be it. When you very first start, they're going to be super simple designs. You're going to have a quest log. There's going to be a marker. You go and explore and gather a material, kill a critter, dig somewhere. You get it, right? Now, you're going to encounter survivors. So these are going to be NPCs that you're going to have to set out and get and then bring back to your camp. This is kind of the overall questing mechanics. They've added a lot of different survivors recently. So there's tons of people to come get and collect. So there's 3 different types of survivors: craftspeople, assistants, and villagers. Craftspeople are like the most important in the entire game because they're going to offer expertise in crafting items for quests, and they're going to advance the storyline. For instance, like the blacksmith is going to specialize in crafting and upgrading weapons and armor. They're also going to be able to build workstations that are going to allow you to take material and then like reforge it or put it together with other material and get a new, better, improved version. So you can combine a couple different ores to make these iron bars or whatever that are going to be really good to make the best armor that you need in the game. Or for instance, a lot of times you're going to be stuck upgrading your flame altar and you're like, what am I missing? I just can't figure out. A lot of times it's actually related to having one of these craftspeople, one of their workstations that produces an individual material. You might have to combine 2 or more to get that to be done. So questing, what I want you to understand is you're going to be seeking out these survivors and these craftspeople. You're going to be bringing them back and then doing quests to essentially unlock their workstations or their workbenches. Those workbenches are going to have production tools that are going to take materials that you already have and then produce better materials with it. That can be used for crafting, consumable items, or upgrading your flame altar. They're going to be found in ancient vaults as well. There'll be quest markers and so on, a little bit of puzzles, and pretty easy to find. Now, assistants, these are going to be like minor crafting capabilities, and they're going to correlate more to our end game and helping out at different bases or just increasing your overall count, which is helpful once you're trying to get your flame altar to the max level. They'll also have some side quests and cosmetics, so they're worth collecting, but not really essential to the overall gameplay. And villagers are NPCs that live and work at your base. They're going to offer some skills and assistance. So another unique side quest, family members or friends, and again, more unlocking cosmetics. But the main premise on your questing is going after the craftspeople to expand your crafting capabilities and upgrade some of the materials you have and make it more useful items. Okay, so building blocks and food is up next. Now, like we've talked about, you're going to be venturing out into the unknown and you're going to be gathering a bunch of materials with the purpose of coming back and crafting stuff. So the building system is crazy dynamic and Enshrouded. You can have some basic thing to like these sprawling castles that some players make. It's insane. Now, the first thing up to explain is what's called tools. So you're going to get tools and you're going to upgrade them eventually, but they're going to allow you to harvest material in the open world. So the first one is an axe, right? It's going to be used to basically chop down trees. It's going to be very handy early on. Now, when you upgrade them, you're going to find different materials like, let's say, metal scraps. You're going to find wood. You're going to find iron ore and bars and so on. That's going to be used to make a better axe, which is going to chop things down faster, drain less stamina, and not get destroyed easily. You can repair materials, weapons, and armor at a workbench just by going up and clicking it. You're also going to have pickaxes. Don't limit this just to mining stone and ore. Like I was talking about earlier, get creative with it. Some of the material in the area, like even towns, you can mine and find some rare materials. Also, something interesting about the pickaxe and mining is you can find buried treasure. A lot of the quests might have a quest marker where you just go to a pile of rocks or something somewhere. You're like, there's nothing here. Just dig. You'll find a lot of stuff underground. Or even in dungeons, you can get through walls and all sorts of fun stuff. You can also upgrade these as well. And then you're going to have rakes. This is more of a tool to help slope terrain. I don't use this a whole lot. The construction hammer is going to be used for blocks, roofs, and other materials. So this is what you're going to use when you're at your base and you want to basically expand and build walls and make it look fancy. Now there is some utility to building your base, and you need to have a roof and you need to have some beds for your individual craftspeople, villagers, and so on. So the basic premise here is go get a bunch of wood. You can get twigs from trees and so on, and just get a basic structure built. You can make it fancier later on and have a lot of comfort and so on, but at the beginning, that's really important. It's just getting the roof and just getting the bed. You're gonna have a summoning staff as well. This is going to allow you to summon survivors at your base, and if you ever lose track of one, you can resummon them. Torches are gonna be really handy. Something that Enshrouded does better than any other game I've seen is make the dark really suck, just like in real life, unless you got night vision. So bringing a torch with you is essential. It will drain over time, and you can upgrade it as well. So if you have your torch out, you're gonna see it degrade. You can repair that at a workbench as well. Also, you're gonna have a lockpick and campfire. So lockpick you can craft manually using metal scraps. Trust me, if you're watching this, they will be the bane of your existence early on, but will be very easy to obtain later on. You can even make them. So when you very first start off, you're not gonna have a whole lot of ability to craft things. You're gonna have a workbench and a construction hammer. You can also go in your menu and it will say manual crafting. You'll be able to do some things through there. But then again, as you rescue and liberate the craftspeople, then you'll be able to put more workbenches in your area, and it's kind of the sprawling crafting area. Do the opposite of me, organize it. Don't just set it down wherever is most convenient like I did, like an idiot, and then you lose track of where to go and what to do. You can also hit the escape and then go into like the individual craftspeople, and it'll show what they craft. Because as you get to the end game, you can't remember who did what or where is what and who crafts what. And you have to actually go there to get that craft. There's no menu or user interface. Okay, when it comes to food in Enshrouded, it's a little bit different than hardcore survival games. So you're not going to be required to eat and drink. The food that you can make and craft is going to be vital for buffs. Buffs are wildly important in this game, and you can have different food slots. There's actually a passive in one of the trees that allows you to have another food slot. So this is really helpful because you can have a health one, you can have your main stat, like let's say it's magic or something else, and then you can have a regeneration one. So this will be helpful for healing. When you very first start out, it's really hard to heal yourself. So eventually you're going to get potions. Early on, you can drink water, so you can bring water with you or find that around, and then you can make bandages. So those are two ways to heal at the very beginning. Then a third way is getting a potion later on. And then you can actually stack all three of these things together and have some really powerful healing. So consumable items are vital. But unlike other survival games, you're not going to have to drink and eat just to survive, at least on the difficulty I play. So 3 food buffs to start. You can get a 4th with the passive. It's going to be very important that you do. Okay, next up is combat. So this is an RPG and kind of like an action RPG. It has a bunch of elements. It's really fast-paced and fun. So you have melee, you have range, you have spell casting, and you have non-spell casters. You have a bunch of different skill trees, and I have builds on my website, Deltiasgaming.com, if I haven't said that enough. And just the too long didn't read on the builds is range is really dominant in the game currently. Specifically, the wand and the staff are really strong along with the bow. The bow is a pain because you have to craft arrows. They're not repeatable until you get this eternal arrow later in the game. So you just run out of arrows constantly. But the wand allows you to go medium range and just tink on targets, and it's pretty good. Staff requires, just like the wand, non-reusable spells, but later on you can get eternal ones and cast them over and over and over. What I'm trying to say is try to equip a wand early on, because you don't have to have some consumable item to do range damage, and the wand is one-handed, allowing you to put a shield in the other hand, and you have a lot more survivability. So you can use bow and you can use magic, offensive spells, defensive spells, and buffs. You can actually heal yourself with the staff, but those spells kind of suck, so I don't really use that. But you're going to have dodging, blocking, and parrying. main. So that's going to be consuming stamina. Just like the basics of any game, you're going to have magic, stamina, and health. You can also time your blocks exactly as an incoming attack comes, and then fill up a meter above the enemy's head, and then eventually stun lock them. You can do sneaking and sneak attacks, but the mechanics don't really shape up that well, and it's never been executed properly, so I kind of just stay away from the sneak mechanics till the developers get a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to talk about leveling up and the skills. So basically when you're leveling, you're going to get experience for doing quests and killing stuff, right? This is not rocket science. You're going to get skill points, about 2 per level. When you complete a Shroud route, you're going to get 1 skill point, and Elixir Well, you're going to get 3 skill points. There's going to be a lot of skill points, and you have this robust, massive tree where you're not limited to a specific class. So unlike other games, there is no specific class. You're able to kind of go mix and match, but you really want to have a basic idea of where you're going and what you're doing and why. So the different trees are the green. You're going to have Assassin, Ranger, Beastmaster, and Survivor. Ranger, in my opinion, is the strongest. This is going to have passives that really boost your range damage, your critical, and it's going to allow you to do headshots. So if you like having an active playstyle that focuses on aiming, this is for you. Assassin also has some mechanics built in for arrows, but they're going to be ones that you have to craft. So that's kind of a more later game one. And then Survivor is going to have one that's really important called Dessert Stomach. That's going to let you get an additional food slot. And Survivor also has double jump and jump attack. These are critical. Double jump I take on almost every single build just because it allows you to do quests, get around the map so much easier. So almost every single build that I have, I go to Survivor straight away and get double jump and then move on. Okay, the blue trees are for magic. You're gonna have Trickster, Wizard, Healer, and Battle Mage. The Trickster is all around pretty good. It has a lot of good stuff in it. Terror, Be Gone, Intelligence, and Counter-Strike. Some of those were nerfed recently. Wizard is your typical glass cannon, do insane amount of damage with the staff. Very, very good for beginners or endgame. My favorite is between Healer and Battle Mage. So something I loved, I was getting my face kicked in as a beginner, and this Water Aura and Waters of Life, it basically heals you per second based on your intelligence stat. This has been nerfed a couple times because it was so powerful, but it just gives you passive healing in combat. It's freakishly powerful when you're very new and you don't have a lot of consumables or knowing what you're doing. That also stacks with another passive found in the Wizard skill line called Radiant Aura. This is going to deal 1 fire damage per intelligence to all fell foes. So when you're in the Shroud, you're tinking around and you're just trying to grind and kill those enemies, this will just nuke them passively for you. So those two things stack, and as spellcasters, you can see you're going to have passive healing per second coming in, and you're going to have passive damage coming. 2 really good things is why I like playing the spellcaster typically. I also consider taking Blink. This is going to replace the dodge roll ability with a short range teleport. Again, even if I'm playing a ranger bow user, I like this. It just makes it so much faster and bigger space gained by doing a dodge roll. And also you can get emergency blink. So when you're stunned, it will break a stun for you. Those 2 things are incredible along with double jump. Battle Mage is really good if you're going to play kind of a hybrid tanky style using a wand. That's very, very helpful for new players that need to block and are taking a lot of damage but want something at range. Remember, melee is going to be unforgiving unless you take this passive I'm about to tell you. So let's jump to that. Red tree, this is melee. Tank, well, you guessed it, it's a tank. So you're going to reduce damage for you and every other player. This is kind of built for multiplayer, not so fun playing solo. Warrior is going to be built on doing damage with different type of weapons. So blunt type of weapons, cutting, piercing, has some good passives, but typically you don't focus this on your main tree. Barbarian is going to be the meathead, 2-handed, super aggressive Rambo-in playstyle. It's going to be very good, but you need a specific couple of passes with it. Athlete has jump attack, but remember from the green tree and the survivor, you're going to get double jump, and you can get jump attack too. That is super helpful to combine. There's also another super OP one that you should have for every single different melee build that will make your survivability dramatically better. It's called Battle Heal. When dealing critical damage with a melee weapon, you heal for 5% of your maximum health. So until you get this, you're really going to be struggling with survivability as a melee build. But once you get this, you want to stack your health and stack critical damage or critical hit chance. Then you'll be constantly just playing aggressive, doing damage and healing yourself passively. Plus, I've mentioned previously, you can heal 3 different ways, right? Drinking water, bandages, and potions. All those together with a massive amount of health. And then melee builds actually do pretty pretty good in terms of survivability. One could argue they're top 3 in terms of best builds. Okay, so I hope that gives you a direction. In my opinion, I would do a barbarian if you want to play melee. I'd do a ranger skill line if you want to play bow, and I would do a battle mage or a wizard if you wanted to play a spellcaster. Now, let's go back to your home. I know that's switching gears a little bit, but there's going to be comfort buff. So when you get to your home, realize it's not going to be like Fallout 4 where super mutants are going to come charge and attack your house, right? You're going to be basically stable. So there might be some wildlife that goes in there, but you're not going to be building turrets and giving people, 9mm guns to defend everything. That's not going to be the case. So you're going to want to have some accessibility and some storage. This is going to be critical. There's going to be 2 types of different storage. There's going to be basic, and there's going to be this magic type. The basic means that you have to have the items on you, on your person, in order for the crafting stations to recognize it. The magic ones will recognize it without it being on your person, meaning they will free up tons of space and tons of time for you instead of going to the storage thing, gathering all the material on you, going back to the crafting station, forgetting what you needed, and rinse and repeat. So eventually you're going to want to invest a lot of resources in building tons and tons of magic chests because the game gets really complicated with collecting tons of material. And this is why you want to have one centralized crafting station / area with these magic chests. The larger the better, so you can dump all of your excessive material in there and not have to bury a bunch of materials to and from various workbenches. So comfort's going to be super key to your gameplay. You're going to need to have a bed, a comfortable position that's warm. So you have a campfire in your thing, you have a roof above your head, and then you sleep in a bed. This will allow the rested status. So it's going to increase your stamina and stamina regeneration. You can get more and more comfort by building various different things like wall decorations, tables, bed, benches, chairs, and so on. How you get a lot of comfort is basically building trophies from various different bosses that you get. And stamina is critical because you can't sprint, dodge, glide, mine, or chop trees at all. So consider comfort a priority. There's also a passive called Well Rested, which adds 5 minutes. So a lot of the game, when you come back to, let's say, repair or deposit your material, you just click the bed and rest for a little bit till your comfort gets maxed out, and then go on and rinse and repeat. So any item that you can craft with extra materials that adds a +1 or so on is well worth crafting in your individual area. Also, some beds, you can only craft one version of them. So you can't craft, 75 of the same bed and get 75 comfort. So make sure you pay attention to that. Okay, I think I've given you enough material to get started, know what to do, go and explore. So with the new update and the future of the game, I want to talk about that in 2025. They just come out with the summits, which is this big snowy area and an absolute brutal hard boss at the end. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. And there's a lot of great combat in this game, and they've changed the difficulty setting now so that way you can really ramp up the difficulty if you aren't feeling challenged. They're doing a great job of that. They've raised the level cap to 35 now. So before it was 25, this gives you a lot more material to collect with the summits and a lot higher level to reach. So don't freak out if you're not able to get all of the important passives that you want in your skill trees right away. You're going to have a ton at endgame. And if you're trying to min-max and really make the most out of your character, there's obviously gear, weapons, and items, right? You can get and craft at your base or you can find throughout the world. But the overall goal is to increase your skill points by doing those elixir wells. So make sure that you hunt them all down and get them all done in each individual area, as they passively add skill points to you alongside of your level. Now, you can also craft a bunch of unique armor sets that are going to be designed for specific combat styles. So crafting armor sets is just like crafting almost anything else. You find the material and you go to the blacksmith or the corresponding craft person and you craft it. This will be currently some of the best armor in the game. You can also find unique item sets throughout the game, and the best way to do it is to cheese these gold chests. So what happens is you'll have a series of gold chests that give the maximum chance to drop a unique item, and this can be at level 1 or level 35. It doesn't matter. My advice to you is once you find one of these gold chests, what you need to do is basically park a flame altar, not right on top of it, out of sight just a little bit, that might take you 15, 20, 30 seconds to get to, and then you go loot that, log out, 30 seconds away, log in, rinse and repeat. repeat. As long as you're far enough back, it will respawn. And so what people do to cheese this, unfortunately, I'm one of them, sorry, guilty, I want to get powerful, is they just basically farm these by logging in, logging out, and setting about 3 or 4 different flame altars around these areas to get the best jewelry, the best weapons. But you can't really do this for armor. But weapons and jewelry you can. So that's a good way to do it. And the summit has one clear in the north by a hollows that you can really use over and over and over and get some of the best items and weapons in the game without spending a ton of time. Okay, there's so much more to cover in Enshrouded, but I hope this gives you an idea of what to do, updated for update 4, along with the year 2025. If you got something out of this video, do me a big favor, hit that thumbs up. Tons of links in the description below for different Enshrouded builds and different topics and guides. I will be covering this game on my channel, on my website, Deltiasgaming.com. So we'll see you there. Thanks for watching.